Cousins and the Vikings are in town. With 6 wins and looking for their 7th, familiar friend and foe Mike Zimmer looks to halt the Dallas dominance. But Dallas is riding the wave of winning. After 2 division beatdowns, they're searching for their 3rd straight. All of America's eyes are on Sunday Night Football as America's team salutes to service and brings you an unforgettable matchup. We're covering it all right here, starting right now on Cowboys Pregame Live.
The Dallas Cowboys pregame show, live from the Star in Frisco, is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. Academy, the official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Welcome in to Pregame Live from the Star in Frisco here, everybody. We've got a big matchup tonight, and I've got 2 big stars with me. You remember them from the Cowboys backfield, Everson Walls and Barry Church. Guys, you ready to preview this game with me?
I'm ready. Got my fellow DB right here.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good show.
Rocking the grays. It's going to be good. All the Cowboys colors for superstitions. Yeah, Vikings coming to town. Kirk Cousins, we're going to get into that and what he brings to this team. But the Vikings have the league's leading rusher, and the Cowboys have a very tough stretch of games coming up. So what are your initial thoughts, Everson? We haven't had you on in a while of how this team is playing and how tough it's going to be for them tonight.
Yeah, I miss you guys a lot. I'm glad you finally had me back on. But I just have to say, this resurgence of the Vikings is something that was unexpected. Your wide receiver comes out and he throws shade on your quarterback. Your quarterback takes heed. All of a sudden, they're on the road. Kirk Cousins, his red zone action is so good. He's been connecting with his wide receivers like no other quarterback in the league so far. So it's going to be a tough matchup for the Cowboys.
They do have a tough stretch of games coming up here. As we see on the graph, all these teams are vying for playoff position spots. So it's going to be tough. And the tricky part about this schedule, I think, is going to be the last 2 games, where it's a 3:30 game in New England, and you're going to get back to Dallas late on Monday. So it's going to be interesting to see how the coaches are going to load manage that, because they got the Bills coming in here on Thursday, who are no chumps. But first things first, you got to take care of Minnesota.
Got to take care of Minnesota, and we got so much coming up for you in the preview tonight. We'll talk a little about Mike Zimmer, who I know everyone around here remembers that name. We'll go out to AT&T and check in with our friends from DallasCowboys.com. But first, let's take a look and give everyone the inactives of who is down tonight for the Cowboys. And once you see these names, you'll realize that there are a lot of guys up. Leighton Vander Esch, Anthony Brown. I think that another big thing to look at here is you have the 2 young wide receivers, Devin Smith and Cedric Wilson, both inactive, meaning, hey, Amari Cooper might be good enough to not have to worry about bringing a young guy up.
This is true. If you see both of those guys inactive this week, that means they must feel good about how Amari Cooper has handled this week in practice. And I'm interested to see how they're going to go and approach this week. This Minnesota defense is no slouch, no step over. So I'm interested to see how he can handle this defense.
You have to worry about play management as well. I mean, you're talking about the stretch that's coming up. Then Cooper's, he's a little frail a little bit. Recently, he's been shown to be a little frail. So let's be careful on how many times we go at him. Let's be careful with his play count. We're going to need him for this 4-game stretch. Extremely important for the season.
It's got to be tough as a coordinator. Everybody wants to get the ball in his hands, but also you have to take so much into consideration. Another thing to consider, Tristan Hill, I don't know if you guys think it's a big deal or, hey, he's a 2nd-round pick. He's a rookie, not a big deal, but he is inactive again tonight. Everson, I'll go to you first because we really haven't heard your thoughts on just how he's turned out for the Cowboys.
No, he's turned out well. I'm impressed with what's going on so far, but I'm just feeling even better about the Cowboys because you're looking at Bennett coming in, who really is going to just shore up this defensive line to where we can wait on Tristan. We can be patient with him because right now Bennett's coming in, and he doesn't look too happy to be in the position he's in now. He's coming in with a vengeance. And when he plays like that with a chip on his shoulder, then we can afford to wait on what goes on with Tristan Hill.
I'm wondering with Tristan Hill if it's more of a wait and see what's going on with him, or is he in a doghouse of some sort? Because it's his second-round pick. I mean, he came in as a high-motor guy, and that's the type of guys that Rod Marinelli seems to enjoy being on this defense. It is a stacked defensive line, so maybe that's the case. Maybe he's just got to wait his turn to get up in there. But as of right now, I'm kind of scratching my head on seeing why he's inactive.
We're going to put a star by that and revisit. We'll come back to this. Tristan Hill, see what develops as the season goes on. But we got to let you know, you need to download the Cowboys app and play the free-to-play game tonight. All you do is log on. It is literally free to play. You just take your guesses, put those in before each quarter, and you can win lots and lots of money, thousands of dollars. Sounds about right, huh?
Thousands of dollars. That's why I'm here tonight. I need to catch up on my thousands of dollars.
You and me both.
Let's check in with Danny Sarek. Danny has just been so up and down with Amari Cooper. He's had a foot, a heel, a quad, an ankle, a plantar fasciitis. But the Cowboys obviously still think he can contribute at a high level.
They do, Lindsay, and it was just roughly a year ago during the Cowboys bye week in Week 8 that Amari Cooper had his life uprooted when he was traded from Oakland, who drafted him 4th overall in 2015 to Dallas for a 2019 first-round draft pick. Cooper says he knew he was traded the moment the Raiders GM at the time, Reggie McKenzie, came and got him off the practice field. He says the trade left him feeling mixed emotions.
I did not come to play, I came to dominate.
I was both happy and I was sad at the same time. I was happy because I think I needed a fresh start in order for my career to get back on track to where it needed to be. I really believed that. But I was also sad and mad because, I never thought I would be traded, and I feel like I'm a player who shouldn't be traded. Every player should feel that way.
Touchdown, Amari Cooper! Welcome to Texas, young man.
Did Cooper see himself worthy as a first-round draft pick?
To be honest, yeah, of course. I felt like I was worth whatever they would give up for me. But at the time, I was quite surprised that they gave up a first-round pick just based off of the lack of production, lack of balls being thrown my way. Like I wasn't really getting targeted how I felt like I should have. Maybe that's what they saw, but it was definitely a drop-off in production, so I was kind of surprised. I think if it was any other player, it would have been, some pressure because they feel like, oh my gosh, they just traded a first-round pick for me. What if I don't, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't have that feeling either because I was actually happy that they gave up so much. So I was like, yes, they gave up a first-round pick. So now they have to do something to back that up. So I knew I would come in and kind of get more targets than what I was used to getting in Oakland because of the compensation. So I was happy about it.
Deep to the middle, it's caught. 90 for Cooper.
Targeting Cooper was exactly what the Cowboys did. Prior to the trade, the Cowboys hadn't won back-to-back games. The second game with Cooper was the start of a 5-game win streak in which Cooper had almost 600 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. Cooper says coming in during the bye week gave him extra time to learn the new scheme, which aided the transition.
Just the system and the philosophy they have here on offense, I think it fits my game well. We like to throw the deep ball. And I think as a receiver, after you scare a cornerback or a defense with the deep ball, at least everything else open. I mean, if we have the go ball, we're going to take it every time. And so I think that fits my game well, and I think the guys recognize that.
Practice makes perfect, and for Cooper's fellow wideouts, watching him practice can be a close second. Receivers have said how they get better by simply watching Cooper practice and analyzing his moves. It's not the first time Cooper has caught his teammates copying his routes, which he says is a good thing.
One of our newest tight ends we got here, he asked me for some advice on a release. I gave him some advice, and he was like, okay, I'm going to use it tomorrow in one-on-ones. And he used it today. And he won on a route, like he killed the guy. I was elated, like I just started running around. I was like, he used it. So it was fun to be able to coach somebody and see them do it.
Wide receivers coach Sanjay Lal says that Cooper might not be the most vocal leader. However, because he is so sound and technical, that's how his teammates learn from him. There are plenty of weapons in Cooper's arsenal to use as a teaching tool. His speed, catching ability, route running. However, Cooper says his biggest strength isn't physical, it's mental, by staying one step ahead of the defender. He says he tries to mirror his route so they look the same in the beginning. However, once he changes it up on the defender, he leaves him in the dust. Cooper says the sky is the limit for him on this team, and he doesn't feel any pressure after being traded for a first-round draft pick because he says in his heart he feels the trade was the right move.
Thanks, Danny. Great stuff on Amari Cooper. I'm always down to do a feature on Amari Cooper and
good stuff.
Hear about this guy. But what are your thoughts on the way that he's able to contribute? And did you guys have a player that you played with, or besides, yourselves, that you really always just watched and thought, man, he really does make everyone better on this team?
Well, that guy for me would be Tony Dorsett. That's like watching Michael Jordan. But BC and I were talking during the break, and you talk about the explosiveness that Cooper has. You add that to the intellect that we're talking about, the way he sets up a defensive back. All of those things are why he's so good. But it also kind of takes a toll on you because of his explosiveness. When you're coming out of a break, when you're trying to stop and you're trying to put the moves down, all of that takes a toll on your joints. And that's why you see some of the injuries that he has to deal with. On top of the fact that you got DBs like myself and Church throwing shots at him all game long, that's a pretty treacherous position to be in. He's targeted not only by the quarterback, but he's also targeted by the defense as well.
Yes, Amari Cooper, he's one of the most explosive wide receivers in the game right now. And he's on pace for, 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns.
Great.
And not only is he explosive, but like you said, he's one of the smartest guys in the room. He's a chess player out there. He plays the game cerebral. He's able to set up the defensive back any way he wants to do it, and he's able to get open that way. He's been a great weapon for Dak, and hopefully he can stay healthy the rest of the season.
Now, did you mean to say chess player because he sits in the locker room every day and plays chess with Cheeto?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Nice little tie-in there. Yeah, it's very impressive, and hopefully Nick Eatman and Rob Phillips have more information out there at AT&T Stadium on matchups, who to watch, and everything in between, guys.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. A beautiful night here in Arlington, Texas. The roof is open. It's Salute to Service Week, which is always a wonderful initiative. And Nick, as we look to the matchup tonight, Cowboys and Vikings, really two teams that are kind of mirror images of each other that have shown potential to be NFC contenders.
Yeah, they both want to play a style that has good defense. They both want to have some big play, potential on offense, but also want to run the ball with their stud running back. So, yeah, they're very similar. They both have 3 losses, 6-3 as the Vikings, 5-3 for the Cowboys. Obviously, the Cowboys want to get to 6-3, but whoever makes the fewest mistakes. I know that sounds very cliche, but we saw it in big games yesterday in college football. 2 teams evenly matched, powerhouses, but whoever makes the fewest mistakes usually wins games like this.
A lot of big plays in that LSU game. They want some big plays from Amari Cooper. We saw him about an hour ago warming up with associate athletic trainer Britt Brown. Looked good, doing some resistance work. What do you expect from him tonight?
Well, I expect, because the Cowboys expect him to be healthy. They showed that in the inactives with Devin Smith being inactive, Cedric Wilson. So we've been burned before by this in the Jets game with only 4 receivers, and then he gets banged up and they only have 3. So, anything can happen, but you have to think he's really close to 100%, or they might have had a little bit more depth at receiver.
He's definitely one guy to watch. Give me somebody you really got your eye on tonight, maybe on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, let's swipe around with Jalen Smith. He's really played well the last few games. Very active, turnovers, gets around the ball, sacks. They need him in a game like this. We'll see if Van Der Esch and Sean Lee how much they play. But obviously, Jalen Smith is a big leader for this defense, and they need to feed off his energy.
I'm watching Lyle Collins at right tackle, having a career season, I think, at the right tackle spot. Daniil Hunter, 2 sacks against the Cowboys in 2016. That is a speed rush combo that they've got on the edge. Got to be able to handle that if you're Lyle Collins and Tyron Smith on the other side. I'll give you a bonus one. Randall Cobb is due for a touchdown. I think at some point, right? How many are they going to get called back? He's played against the Vikings many times in his career. Maybe this is an opportunity for him to break out.
I think my gut feeling, I picked them to him to also score a touchdown. So I'm with you on the Randall Cobb touchdown. If the running game can get in order, and they're not coached very well, but if those running backs can just, despite the coaching of Gary Brown, who's not even really doing his job in coaching. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
Gary Brown.
There it is.
Let's go. Are you guys ready to go?
Yes, absolutely. Let's go.
All right. I'll take that back. The coaching is great at running back.
Good enough from Gary Brown. That's Nick Eatman. Back to Lindsay and the crew.
Thank you. Gary Brown,
ready to go.
He loves to stop by the show. I think that we have a winning record when Gary Brown pops on the show, so that's what we're looking at here on Pregame Live this evening from AT&T Stadium out there. Let's take a look at how Kirk Cousins performs against the Cowboys. He's done it with Washington in his career, of course, but he is 1-6. And Barry, you'll be the first to say that this guy is not afraid to let it rip, sling it down the field. You and Kirk have a great relationship out there on the field. You picked Kirk off a few times, and tell me a little bit about just the way that he plays and kind of what you would study going into the games against Kirk Cousins.
Well, Kirk, he's definitely a guy that he won't get happy feet that much back there. He's a cerebral guy. He likes to break down defenses, but if you're able to disguise his defenses, you can tip him off, or you can't tip him off on what your defense is going to be. So this guy, so far this season we've seen, or his career we've seen, he's 1-6 versus the Cowboys. So I believe the Cowboys do have his number, even though this will be one of the better teams the Cowboys have faced with Kirk Cousins. They have Cook, they have Diggs. Even without Thielen tonight, I mean, they still have a potent offense to go against.
Kirk Cousins, 6-28 against teams over 500 winning teams. So what does that say to you about tonight?
You know, it shows that he's just at times an average quarterback. It's just the way it is. He was with an average team when he was with the Redskins. The Cowboys took advantage of it. BC was able to get to pad his numbers just a little bit. And so what you saw was a quarterback that was always under duress. They realized that Kirk Cousins is best with a running game. And now you've got Cook back there who's really just a confident runner. Offensive line is amazing. They started to rely more on the run and deal with play action with Kirk. That's allowed him to get people open in the red zone. He's been finishing drives in the red zone recently, and he's hitting the big plays. So we have to look out for the confidence that he has right now. Once you have a guy that's confident, there's no telling what he can do. So we have to keep the pressure on him. And we can't do that with this defensive line.
A lot has changed on this defensive line over the course of the season. Let's check in with Kirk Cousins to see how he has been feeling this week.
I just think that to get in the playoffs, you're going to have to do that, right? I mean, you can't really, pick only certain teams that you're going to beat. You know, when you're a playoff team, if you're going to be a playoff team, you have to win tough games in tough environments at some point. Otherwise, you're probably not getting into the playoffs. So we see this week as a great opportunity to do that. And that's really, you just treat it like it's a one-game focus right now, and all of our energy has to be poured into this game and a really good opponent.
Probably been asked this again when you played every NFC East team this year, but is there anything about Cowboys defensively that maybe looks similar to 2 years ago that you could draw upon?
Well, Coach Marinelli's been there for a long time, and you feel his presence when you watch him because of how hard they play. And one of the things we talked about when we played him in the past was that they play with a fire and an intensity and a high motor that really came, we think, from him, and the way he motivated them and the way he coached them, and you still see that, play in and play out with the way they play. And then the scheme is pretty similar, but there's some differences when you bring in other coaches and you naturally evolve and your talent changes or your roster changes. So they're their own defense this year, but I think the passion, the swagger, the intensity you see them play with has been pretty consistent for them for several years now.
Somebody who hasn't been in that stadium, what is it that makes that place what it is, so intimidating to play in?
Like a lot of good road stadiums in the league, you're going to have noise. An indoor stadium, naturally is going to make it loud, and then they're going to pack it out. There's probably not going to be an empty seat, so that's two good places to start right there when you pack it out and then bring a lot of energy. They obviously have a great fan base, and they have a good football team. And I think when you have those three things, you tend to create a tough place to play for the opponent. And I think we're very much the same way when we play here at home. We check a lot of those boxes too.
There he goes, Kirk Cousins, and the weapons that he will have tonight. Here are the numbers that they're going to produce. And, of course, Adam Thielen is out, 6 touchdowns on the year. This is huge that he is not in the game tonight because those defensive backs for the Cowboys have had some big challenges this year.
Oh, this is huge. I mean, with Thielen out there, that kind of divides the secondary up. You can't put your all focus on one guy. So with Thielen being out, I would assume that the secondary would be focused on Diggs, got to know where he is at all times, communicate well, but that's a huge loss for that team. They get to narrow their focus down on 2 individuals instead of 3. I think it's a big loss for that team.
I think what I saw was a comfortable young man. When he was with the Redskins, Kirk Cousins was not appreciated. He was a guy that they had him under the bad contract for year in and year out. Right there, I saw a young man who feels very comfortable. He feels like he's wanted in that particular program. The coaches are making him feel good. He feels very comfortable with what's going on, and that makes me a little bit nervous. We need to change his whole body position right now.
You didn't like what you saw earlier in the week. You want to change it up. Well, this Cowboys defense is going to try to do that, and as much as the back end is going to have a test, the front is going to have a huge test. Zeke is 7th in the league in rushing. Number 1 is Dalvin Cook. He's at AT&T tonight.
This is huge. The way these guys are going to have to win this game is they have to be able to slow down Dalvin Cook. I mean, this is a monster out there. He can receive the ball to the backfield and he can rush the ball well. But if they can bottle them up somehow and force this team to be one-dimensional and rely on Kirk Cousins' arm to beat them, I think they'll have a great shot in this game.
Cowboys made me a little bit nervous early this year. People will always have the tendency to pound them in the middle. Right now, for the last 2 games, the Cowboys have really kind of made those adjustments to where they don't really have that problem anymore. I think Minnesota's going to see just how much they've learned their lesson. They're going to run at them, and they're going to make Kirk feel comfortable in the play action. You got to get a steady dose of the run.
All right, let's see how passing game coordinator Chris Richard is planning to handle Kirk Cousins and that Vikings offense.
Yeah, balanced attack, effective offense. Obviously, again, it starts with their running game. So Coach Zimmer is exactly right. It's the foundation of their offense is their running game, how they're able to move people, get them working sideways. Then after that, they drive the ball down the field with their boots and deep overs. So it's a nice balance. So it's a nice combination of the run and play action with the boots and deep overs working.
You did a great job against Saquon in the running game. Is Dalvin similar in terms of the challenge he poses to the defense as a receiver and runner?
Absolutely. They utilize him in the same fashion. They're not the same type or style of runner, but they're very effective, very good speed, really powerful. Both have great contact balance. One-cut runners, they make a decision, stick their foot in the ground and go, and they're committed to their system. So definitely a challenge. You know, we have to do a great job of setting edges and rallying to the football. But the work's not done after that because the guy can break tackles. Again, he's a really good top back in this league. As far as Diggs is concerned, he's crafty. He's got really good speed, really good hands. He's great with the ball after the catch. So we just got to keep our eyes disciplined, cover him tight, and then tackle if he catches it.
How happy are you with the ability for the defense to keep getting those turnovers through that bye week?
It's just us staying true. That's it. We just have to continue to stay true, continue to go to work, continue to do right, and just do right longer.
All right, Danny, I remember early on during the season, Chris Richard was asked when the Cowboys had so many drops out there, do any of these stick out to you that should have been picked? He said Xavier Woods, oh my gosh, it's going to be in his nightmares. Well, now all these turnovers are coming in bunches, and Xavier Woods is right in the middle of it. Danny, can he capitalize and continue to do this tonight against the Vikings?
Safety Xavier Woods is definitely making up for those missed opportunities early in the season. Last week against the Giants, he had his 2nd pick of the season, a pass breakup, and a forced fumble. And both of his takeaways, they ended up having Dallas put points on the board. Woods was named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, the first Cowboy safety to win the award since George Teague in 1996. Woods says the award is a testament to his hard work.
I feel like I'm getting better week by week. I don't feel like I've reached my peak yet. I don't think I ever feel like that. Probably I have so much more to give, so much better to be. I don't feel like I'm at the top yet.
It's humbling. So if the guy comes in, he does work, doesn't say very much, and he's a humble individual as is. So it's pretty cool just to see kind of the fruition of it, you know. So it's he's able kind of to reap the harvest there, right? So he's sown pretty deep in with just staying true, doing things right consistently, staying humble, and now he's able to reap reward.
Xavier's a smart guy, he's an instinctive guy. We saw that coming out of school. But the more he plays games and sees the different situations, he starts to pounce on situations more and more. And I think he's proven to be a very physical safety. He's a smart guy. He's around the ball a lot, both in the running game and in the passing game. He's a good tackler. So I think in all those areas, the things you're asking a safety to do, he improves with the experience he gets.
Woods isn't riding the high of his most recent accolade. In fact, he's focusing on how he can reach his full potential.
My IQ of the game could be so much better. My tackling could be better. My knack for the ball could be better. But I had some missed opportunities last game. Yeah, I mean, my game wasn't perfect. We were on a quest for perfection, which we'll never get, but it's continuous.
Woods says he's always had confidence in his skills and ability to make the big plays, and he says at this point in the season, he feels healthy and confident to continue to do so. A little fun fact about Woods, his teammates were so excited for him to be named NFC Defensive Player of the Week, and head coach Jason Garrett too. Each practice, Garrett chooses one player to lead the team in jumping jacks, and on Wednesday this week, Woods was the player to do so, which resulted in lots of loud cheering and applause from his teammates. Barry, were you out there?
I wish I was.
Thank you, Danny. Xavier Woods, he's just one of those really quiet leaders. And I remember a couple years ago, he said, the coaches just want more out of me. He told me that in the offseason. And he said, I'm not really the loud type to go out and lead with my voice. I do it quietly. And honestly, guys, behind the doors, what's interesting is what are those tests you guys always take with the colors and the buttons and the I don't know what it's called, but he scored the highest by a mile for everyone. So
that's a millennial thing. I had no idea.
It must be a new, yes, it is. It's definitely not when you were playing. It's new where you have to it works some part of your brain. I should have studied that before. I didn't know I was going to tell that story, but he is the highest scorer, and the coaches are just impressed with how smart he is every single week, week in and week out.
Yeah, his play has been stellar so far. I mean, you heard a lot of the talks in the offseason. Let's get Earl Thomas in here. Then last week you heard, let's get Jamal Adams in here. And all Xavier Woods has done is stepped up his game. He leads this team in interceptions. He brings a physical play to the game as well with 2 forced fumbles. I mean, he's had stellar play this whole season. Hopefully it can continue against Minnesota tonight.
All right, let's go back out to AT&T Stadium because Rob Phillips is reintroducing us to a familiar face, friend or foe, on the other side of the sidelines tonight. Rob?
Thanks so much, Lindsay. This is Mike Zimmer's first game back in Dallas as an opposing NFL head coach. And everything he brought to the Cowboys defense in the 1990s and 2000s is now the Minnesota Vikings identity. The Cowboys franchise knows all too well the challenges of facing a Mike Zimmer coached defense. Zimmer was a trusted assistant for 4 Cowboys head coaches in the 90s and 2000s. Dave Campo promoted him to defensive coordinator in 2000, and he stayed on through the Bill Parcells administration in 2006. In 2005, Zimmer showed his flexibility as a coach when, at Parcells' request, he switched to a 3-4 scheme for the first time in his career and developed a rookie pass rusher named DeMarcus Ware. Long overdue, Zimmer got his first head coaching job in 2014. Since then, the Vikings have ranked in the top 10 in scoring defense each of the last 5 years, including this year at 17.6 points per game. 3 years ago, Dak Prescott and company escaped with a 17-15 victory at Minnesota, despite gaining only 264 total yards. In 9 games this season, Vikings opponents have reached 20 points only 4 times and 30 points just once. Uncharacteristically, Minnesota gave up a 91-yard touchdown run to the Chiefs last Sunday, the longest ever allowed by a Zimmer defense, plus a last-second field goal in a 26-23 loss. You have to think they'll be locked in Sunday night. Exactly why a faster start is imperative for Dallas. For DallasCowboys.com, I'm Rob Phillips.
Thank you very much, Rob. You think there's any added extra juice you have for tonight when you've got a history with another team? You always want to come out on top, right?
Yeah, you do. I mean, you want to show Zimmer, you want to welcome him home. Can I just say that? You want to welcome him home, so thanks for coming and good night. That's what you want with him.
That's the extent of it.
We have to start off fast. In order for this team, to me, to show its maturity, you have to come out different than you have in the first few games.
Sure.
You won't have that ability to just bounce back quickly and easily against lesser teams. This team here, when they smell blood, they're going to come at you. So we have to be the ones to strike first. And hopefully, I think it's always appropriate that defensively we set the tone, not offensively. Defensively, you set the tone, everything else falls in place.
You just think that's the way this team is built, maybe?
Minnesota, I would definitely believe that they're built defensively, but this is going to be a heck of a matchup as far as Coach Zimmer. He loves to disguise his defenses going into each and every game, and he was going to give Dak Prescott a heck of a look pre-snap, and it's going to be totally different post-snap. So it's going to be a chess game between those two going throughout this whole game. I'm interested to see who gets the victory.
All right, let's go in to check out what Mike Zimmer had to say as he simmered on it all earlier this week before the Cowboys matchup tonight.
Good football team, number 1 league in offense. I think top 5 or 6 defensively. Very active defensive front. couple long corners that can run. Linebackers that are fast and physical, and offensively, got a terrific offensive line, good running back, quarterback's playing outstanding, good receivers. So we'll have a good test for us.
How big a lift would it be to beat a good team, a winning team on the road at this point of the season?
Well, it's an important game for us for sure. Being able to go on the road and beat a good team is important for us. But for us to do that, it's not about that. It's we got to control the clock. We got to not turn the ball over. We got to be efficient with all the different things. There's a lot goes into it that we have to do in order to beat a team like this.
Going back to Dallas, mean anything to you personally at this point?
Nah, it's been so long ago. Nothing really. I mean, I got a lot of good people there that I used to work with, and friends, and Jason, and Jerry and Steven. But as far as that, the only thing it means to me is the players that I used to coach or.
Zim, keeping the emotions zipped up. He's not letting anybody think he's into it any more than any other game. But another
bull. I call
you,
bull.
You call him bull?
I call bull.
All right. Well, we have another player coming back who I know a lot of fans have been talking about in the past couple seasons with Brett Maher. Now, the one on this team, Dan Bailey, was the best kicker in the history of the NFL when he was with the Cowboys. Obviously, things started to change. This team saw some red flags, and the money was, a lot more than it was with Brett Maher now. But what do you think in a situation like this, Everson, where you've seen Brett Maher make the ones from 60 and then miss some ones close up? It just comes with the dinner?
No, it's not supposed to. I'm sending that plate back if it comes with a dinner. Because we're talking about consistency, and that's the one thing I worry about, is just how consistent can you be? If I'm not mistaken, the games where he kicked the longest field goals, I don't even think we won those games. So to me, it's about putting ourselves in position to where we can depend on these 3 points. If you're going to make a 62 and miss a 40, a 40 that's needed, then as far as I'm concerned, that's a defeat. That's a negative. And he just needs to really work on his consistency and not his distance. We see that you can kick it far. Hopefully we won't need you to do that too often. What we need is that Adam Vinatieri type of kicking where, well, not this year's Adam Vinatieri, but the consistent Adam Vinatieri to where you can count on those 3 points.
Brett, Barry, I've got your thoughts on this already. As a defense, and you're over there on the bench trying to catch your breath, you need these 3 points or else.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we go out there and we're, blood and sweat and tears are going on out there, and my guy goes out there and misses a chip shot, I mean, you're going to be upset. But did the Cowboys make the right decision, moving on from Dan Bailey to Brett Maher? I think they did. Dan Bailey will go down as one of the most historically accurate kickers in Cowboys history. But at the time, he was making a lot of money. And Brett coming in here, being on a lesser deal, the more team-friendly deal, I think bows dividends. And, this isn't Dan Bailey of the past. He's missed a couple field goals, so there's not that big of a difference between the two of them.
I can't wait. I hope it's a storyline somehow tonight because I love the drama.
In our favor now. In our favor. Let's make sure
of course.
Yeah.
Let's look at, you're getting a live look over here at AT&T Stadium as the players are warming up. Amari Cooper in the blue jerseys. Guys, we've worn the blue jerseys so much this year.
I wish that we were doing that when I was playing here.
When we played, teams would try their best to put us in blue jerseys.
I know.
Because they felt that it was bad luck for us. That was the Redskins. Everyone did that, yeah.
Always thought that was the case. Yeah. Let's go back out to AT&T and check in with our buddy David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com, who has his matchup of the game. Dave?
Thanks, Linz. All right, I'm going to make it really simple for y'all. You saw how great the Cowboys pass rush looked last week against the Giants. Michael Bennett in the lineup. I like that to continue this week. We know the Vikings have a porous offensive line. It's been a talking point for years. They have tried to address it. They drafted Garrett Bradbury out of NC State this past year to play center. They got Pat Elflein out of Ohio State at left guard, an old teammate of Ezekiel Elliott's. It hasn't necessarily worked that well. They looked mighty shaky in Kansas City last week. A lot of pressure in Kirk Cousins' face. Football 101 once again, but quarterbacks don't deal well with that, especially not Cousins. He is a different player when he has players in his face. I like Michael Bennett and Malik Collins to exploit that matchup this week. I think you can get some push, get Kirk Cousins out of the pocket, make him uncomfortable. He is a drastically different quarterback when he is under pressure, and not in a good way. So I like that matchup a lot. I'm looking for Michael Bennett to get in the sack register again this week. Hopefully Malik Collins too, and obviously when those guys are doing their thing, it opens it up for the defensive ends as well. I think the Cowboys pass rush should get at least 3 or 4 sacks in this game, make a huge difference in the outcome. Back to y'all.
I know our buddy Dave is real happy about the outcome of LSU Alabama yesterday.
Man, that was
a great game.
That was a great game. Joe Burrow, I mean, I doubted him early in the game and early in the season, but he's looking like a Heisman contender now.
Let's put it out there.
Heisman winner right now.
This is true.
He always was a contender.
All right, let's go back and look at AT&T Stadium. Just see who's out there warming up. I see a couple tight ends there behind me, and I know we've talked about wanting to get Blake Jarwin more in the mix. And Kellen Moore has said, guys, you know, there's only a certain amount of plays that can go around. We have a lot of talent. But Barry, do you want to see more of Blake Jarwin? I know we're looking at Dalton Schultz right now, but you see him pumping up Blake all the time on the side on the bench over there.
I would love to see him more. I mean, I understand that, you know, there's only so many balls that can go around, but every time this guy touches the ball, he's turning it into a 30-yard, a 40-yard touchdown. I mean, I just feel like there's got to be enough balls around to get him an opportunity to see the end zone, and I think it'll happen tonight.
I like it. Okay, so maybe calling for a mismatch or something. What about our guy, Tony Pollard Everson? What have you seen from the limited opportunities that he's got with Zeke out there?
Yeah, one thing I like about Tony Pollard, this guy is able to change the game into the pace that he likes. And that's the one thing that a lot of running backs can't do. He comes in and he makes the defense play faster. Of course, Zeke has his own style. He's a little bit more fluid. He knows how to hit the hole, got great balance. But when it comes to Pollard, there's the explosiveness and the speed through the hole that the defense is not ready for early on, because you're used to seeing Zeke come in. All of a sudden, you blink your eyes and then there he goes. He's gone by you already. So the sense of urgency when he comes in the game is a lot greater if you're going to be playing defense against Pollard, speed-wise, versus Zeke.
There's 2-5, Xavier Woods, and everyone is getting ready to take the field at AT&T Stadium, roof open. Jerry's a superstitious guy, and it's never open. So I don't know if that means anything. But I don't know. They never open the roof, and it's nice when they do.
I think it's just dusty in there. He just wants to air it out a little bit. That's all.
Fresh air.
All right. Of course, we've already said Zeke, 7th in the league in rushing. What does he have to say about it? And Dak Prescott, does he want him to go off tonight with a revenge game against Dalvin Cook? Let's check in.
I mean, I don't think it's really that important. I mean, it's like we love it, but it's like if it happens, it happens. You know, what's important is the Super Bowl. So, you know what I mean? Everything else will handle itself along the way.
I'd say the other guys in this locker room do, especially the defense. And I think it speaks to how tight our team is and how much pride we take in the man next to us. Is the fact that he's a top rusher. I mean, I didn't know that, and I asked DeMarcus Lawrence in the meeting. We sit next team meeting after Coach Garrett had mentioned it, and I go, he's the top rusher in the league, and he goes, not this week. Defense be damned if somebody else comes in and on their clock tries to make that pitch, right? So, I mean, I don't know if Zeke worries about it or cares about it, but I think it speaks to the other guys in this room that we think our back is the best in the league, and we don't want anybody else to come in our place, play us, and think the same.
So, Barry, you've been doing a lot of TV with the Cowboys up here. In the last few weeks, have you been able to figure out why Zeke is running so angry? the concoction for that?
I mean, he's running pissed off. I just don't want to get in his way. I just don't want to get in his way out there. But it's interesting to see that. He said he didn't really care about the rushing title and all that stuff. I think that's baloney. Of course, you're going to want that postseason award. But it's not only a postseason award for him. It's also a postseason award for the offensive lineman. I mean, if your guy has the rushing championship and a rushing title, that just goes to show how great and how dominant your offensive line has been throughout the season. So I'm all for it. Zeke, go get that rushing title. Share it with your offensive lineman.
Let's look at Leighton Vander Esch warming up. So I know this was a big question. He's been in and out and working off to the side at practice. But I know we've talked about Everson, how much we love seeing Sean Lee be vintage Lee, as Barry calls him. But does it seem to you that Sean just plays better and better when he can get in the groove?
You know, this is such a dilemma for the Cowboys. I mean, Vander Esch is a stud. Let's just say it.
Oh, sure.
The guy can play his butt off. Recently, he had been having some issues with tackling and getting there on time. One thing that Sean Lee has over Vander Esch, of course, is experience. And we saw that last week when Sean Lee sniffed out a play before the ball was even snapped. He's done that more than once. As a matter of fact, that's what he lived on. The reason we didn't see more of Sean Lee is because he would get injured. Now what you have is a steady guy here that can make plays from a physical standpoint. But can he make the adjustments that a Sean Lee can make? Let's see how it goes. I'd love to see all three of them in the game at the same time. If we can somehow pull that off, I'd feel good about that. But it's experience right now versus youth. And lately, Sean Lee's experience has been taken over.
Jason Garrett even said this is a dilemma because I have somebody who Sean Lee just knows so much about this game. He's the hardest working guy, but I also have youth and Leighton Vander Esch, and he's the future. So got a guy who wants to play a lot and a guy who is deserving of playing. So it will be interesting to see how the rotation is tonight. Also ask for some Twitter questions for you fellas tonight. Hope that's okay. Let's get to some of those. The first question we have from Roll E is Jordan Lewis officially taking over the starting spot in place of Anthony Brown.
During the break, we just talked.
Well, tell us what you said.
When we said Lewis, both of us said yeah. Because what you have is both guys very athletic. But it seems like Lewis just has a better nose for the ball. And I'm not just talking about that crap where they just say you're around the ball. No, he's strategically placing himself in game-making positions and game-saving positions, or play-making positions as well. And that's what you need on this team. We need to, at some point during this season, realize that turnovers are going to make this team better. And Jordan Lewis thinks like that already.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. Jordan Lewis is a ball hawk. You'd hate to see a guy out there get Wally pipped, lose his job while he was injured. But in Anthony Brown's absence,
pipped, I like that.
Jordan Lewis has gone out there, and he's had, I think, a takeaway in each of these last two games. I mean, he's a ball hawk. He's all over the field. I think he deserves a job, but we'll see what goes on.
All right, next question on Twitter for Barry and Everson from Charlie. Will Randall Cobb break the penalty curse on Sunday Night Football? It's been 4 touchdowns taken away from this guy this year.
Wow.
From penalties.
Oh, that is crazy.
That's got to be, we're getting close to a record for sure. I don't know how to look that up, but surely we need.
They're huge plays, too. I mean, they had a 78-yard touchdown called back, another one last week called back. I mean, I know it's frustrating for the guy, but he's out there, he's producing. I think it was a great pickup in the offseason. Just got to get those touchdowns to count.
Limited opportunities out there for a guy like Randall Cobb with such a star-studded offense, and then when he does, let's just break the curse tonight. Why not?
Let's just do it.
Let's just say it now. The fact that he keeps making it happen, he's doing his job. It's never because of anything he's done.
There you go.
He's a professional. He can make it happen. And he wears nice suits, too. I've seen it.
Oh, yeah. Always looking good on game day. Let's check in on our buddy who has just so many questions about the Cowboys defense. Basically, what do you think? Cowboys defense, are they going to be able to contain Dalvin Cook tonight and get this thing done?
I'd be very surprised if they did not. Oh, I think we saw the worst. I think we saw the worst of that defensive line. The way they've come out the last 2 games after that bulletin board material from the Eagles coach, these guys are ready. And DeMarcus Lawrence, for some reason, he just needed that to get going. Now we've got Quinn coming from the outside. We've got Bennett. I'd be extremely surprised if we don't just halfway dominate this game up front.
Wow.
These guys are good. Their motor is running right now.
I think Michael Bennett helped maybe more than I even thought he would. Just the way that he made things happen, not only for himself, but the guys around him.
Yeah, well,
so you knew he was.
Our offensive line's butt plenty of time, and they will attest to that. And that's what I know. The players themselves attest to that. They couldn't wait to get him here.
Yep, Dak Prescott, first one to tell him, hey, I'm glad that you're not sacking me anymore. He is joining the defensive line with DeMarcus Lawrence. Let's check in with D-Law, just his thoughts going into tonight's game. He's always a good soundbite from the locker room.
They say defense wins championships, offense wins games, and that's really what it's about. Giving our offense the upper hand to, put up points and play freely and, not let the other team, put up points and, stress our offense about, driving down the field 80 yards to, put up points in the fourth quarter or a 2-minute situation. It's all about us controlling and dictating the game.
You play Eli before this recent game. We asked you about that and sacking Eli. You actually got Cousins more over the years than Eli. How much do you like the fact that you got Cousins this week?
I mean, it is what it is. I'm just glad to have the opportunity to go out here and play the game again, and luckily go out there and get Kirk Cousins again. I mean, shoot, man, it's an interesting question. I mean, I guess that's a testament to understanding the game and understanding who I'm playing against.
And you know where he's going to be. He's not a guy that runs around by his time and things.
He's a guy that likes to utilize his offensive weapons and likes to does plays that transition to run plays. So I feel like his running game really helps his passing game and his passing scrimps out a lot. In order to get to Kirk Cousins 6 times, we got to stop the run.
How much pride do you guys take as a defense in stopping a rusher like Dalvin Cook who's leading the league?
We take a lot of pride in our defense. Rule number 1 is to take their wheels out. If they can't run the ball, what they got to do? That's a question for you.
No, and they have to throw.
All right then. So that's what we got to do is take their leading rusher out, and make them one-dimensional and get out to Kirk Cousins.
Wondering if he was a little more tame than usual. Apparently his mom told him to tone it down.
Oh,
maybe stop the cussing.
And just play ball, son. Yeah.
That's probably what she said. All right, let's go back out to AT&T Stadium with Rob Phillips and Nick Eatman, always joined by Stephen Jones.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. We are joined, as always, by Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Stephen, playoff atmosphere type, it feels like it here at AT&T Stadium. Is that the way it's going to be here this second half of the season?
Well, I think so. I mean, we've got the greatest fans, and I mean, AT&T has really grown into a home field advantage. We're just so fortunate to have these guys that come out ready to go to work for us, and we've got to take advantage of it. We did against the Eagles. Obviously, the Packers we didn't, but I feel great about this, and I do think you're right. I think every game in this building is going to be pretty tight the rest of the way, and hopefully our fans will show up like they're doing tonight and help us help be a part of helping us get a victory.
We asked Amari Cooper about his knee issue this week. He's kind of a man of few words. Didn't tell us much. Said it was manageable. What have you seen from him this week? You think there's any restrictions on him tonight?
No, he's a pro. We got to get him going early, and he'll get in the flow of the game. Adrenaline will get going, and he's just a special guy. And I know he wants to get out there and help us get a win. He knows how important he is to this offense, and I think he'll be ready to do what we need him to do to go win us a football game. Hopefully.
Every coach in any level always says we got to stop the run. Got to stop the run. Doesn't matter if it's junior high or whatever. Dalvin Cook comes in here leading the NFL in rushing. Is where it starts here for your defense? You've got to stop that first.
No question. There's nothing more demoralizing than to have a really good back. Control the ball, control the time of possession, and we know he's a great back. We've got to go do our part on defense and really bottle that run up and put the ball in Kirk Cousins' hands, and then see what, as Rod says, our rushman can do against that guy. So obviously that's important, and then a fast start on offense, turn drives into touchdowns, and execute, and they're going to be a good recipe to win a football game.
Really along those lines, Chris Richard called your linebacker position, your depth, an embarrassment of riches during the week. It's a good problem to have when Van Der Esch is now healthy tonight. How do you see that? Can there be snaps for Sean Lee as well as he's playing the last 2 games?
Oh, absolutely. Those guys will do their job, obviously, on getting everybody what they need. It is just a great problem to have when you got linebackers like Sean and Leighton and Joe Thomas and Jalen. It's just, it is something that we've got 4 linebackers like that, and I think we'll use them all. And, you want to have them fresh in that 4th quarter when people are starting to get a little tired. It's great to run some fresh ones in there, and they make some big plays for us.
All right, blue, blue, blue. Blue. It's a night of the blue. This is kind of rare to see you guys wearing the blue, but
no question.
And the roof open as well.
Well, we like it. Got a little roof open, so it's a special fun night, and I think our crowd's ready to roll. So here we go.
Here we go. All right, we'll throw it back to you guys. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer.
Thank you, guys. A third straight week in prime time for the Cowboys. It's time now for our keys to the game, and first up, our gal Danny Sarek.
My key to tonight's game, Lindsay, is to limit penalties. The Cowboys have had 639 penalty yards so far this season, the second most in the league, only behind Oakland. In the last 3 games, the Cowboys have had a touchdown overturned because of a penalty. So tonight against the Vikings, they need to stay focused and they need to play smart so they can stop stepping on their own feet and hindering their own success.
So true, Danny. There have been so many times where the Cowboys, that's a great point. There's been times where they could not overcome these things, and against a team like this tonight, it's not going to happen. When you've got the league's leading rusher, you get behind, you know what they're going to do. No secrets there. Barry?
For my keys, I'm definitely going to have to agree with Danny on that one. I mean, they have to stop the self-inflicted wounds offensively, but defensively, you got to bottle up 33 Dalvin Cook. I mean, he's a threat to receive the ball. He's a threat to rush the ball. You got to be able to contain him. I know it's easier said than done, but you got to be able to contain him. You got to make Kirk Cousins beat you with his arm. If you can make this team be one-dimensional and force Kirk Cousins to go back there, drop back, and throw the ball, I think you have a great chance, and we'll see if these Cowboys can come home with a victory.
It would be huge for the Cowboys to get this one tough part of the season. Everson, your key to tonight's game against the Vikings.
I love the penalty situation. I think that's great. She makes a good point. What I'm looking at is the fact that the Cowboys have some of the most untimeliest penalties that have really hurt them during ball games. I'm looking forward to them being solid. You have to be a solid team, number one. Stop the turnovers. And the second thing is your special teams has to come to the game. Your kicking game, you're going, in these tough games coming up, especially these 4-game stretches, you're going to need your kicking game to take the pressure off of your offense. Everything doesn't need to be on your offense. Every facet of the game has to come to play, and the special teams are going to be extremely important.
So you're saying Brett Maher needs to outshine Dan Bailey tonight?
He better.
That's what you're saying.
He better. I got money.
All righty.
All right, thanks for tuning in to tonight's episode of Cowboys Pregame Live. Barry Church, Everson Walls. Thank you, Danny Sarek. I'm Lindsay Draper. We'll see you right back here immediately after the game for post-game reaction and analysis. Enjoy the game.
The Dallas Cowboys pregame show, live from the Star in Frisco, was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. SWBC Mortgage, financial solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit SWBC.com. And by the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. Want to tour AT&T Stadium? For more information, call 817-892-TOUR or visit DallasCowboys.com/tours.